Hello and welcome to the Buckcast episode 22. Today's special guest is...
A not so special person, as you've come to know. What up? I'm Ned, and I'm here once more for another episode.
Good to have you. Today we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. Been a fairly eventful week for Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. I'm excited to have you on for your expertise about certain things.
We will be going over several more competitive level events this time around, so I do expect some sort of higher level conversation as opposed to the usual just ramble that we tend to go through. But anyway, before we do move on any further, this time we'll be doing something a little bit unorthodox, and we'll actually go over our Yu-Gi-Oh! Lingo section a little earlier. So this time, we are going over the term on legs. Now, that sounds weird, because it is.
Doesn't make much sense out of context. But
yeah. But adding that context in, on legs usually means like when we're referring to another card that has a similar effect to the one that we're currently using. So, for instance, right now, that term's being used a lot to describe this certain monster as being a macrocosmos on legs. And this certain monster is Kashtera.
I don't know.
Forgot his name. Let's go. A rice heart.
Oh, yeah. Yes, often called a macro on legs because he is a monster with the effect of the trap card Macrocosmos. So, on legs always just a way of describing some spell or trap effect that has been put onto a monster, therefore giving it legs, as it were.
Giving it legs, yeah.
And Kashtera Arise Heart is definitely very relevant right now. Being a macro on legs is a very powerful floodgate effect.
Yeah, and as it has shown, especially in the recent results for YCS 3v3 Vegas, as well as even in the WCQ, it broke through to the second place, right?
I don't know which one.
Oh, wait, no, we don't have the results for second place. But I think I heard it was second place.
Probably. I would be surprised if it didn't top the recent WCQ. But we've got...
We know who won.
We know who won. And it's a bit of a weird one. Yeah. Anyway, but let's talk about the 3v3.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to give some notes. 3v3s are a little interesting. I think the first thing to note is obviously that you could get carried. That's just a thing that can happen. If the other two members of your team are playing much more competent decks or much more skilled, there is a possibility that you're going to get some weird deck lists that make it in the top cut because they got carried. It's a thing that just can happen. Yeah. It's not going to be common, but some of the deck lists we're going to look at are definitely suspect of perhaps being carried.
Yeah, you start questioning, how the heck did this get up here? And then you look at the other two deck lists, and you're like, oh, that's how.
I see how this happened. Yeah. Which, also another thing about 3v3s that I recently heard that is very interesting is 3v3s are actually better for high-skill players because you can't just sack one high-tier player and they lose. You have to sack 3 high-tier players if it's a team of 3 high-tier players. So even regardless of the skill level of the current format, a 3v3 exaggerates high-skill players being able to make it in the top cut. Or at least that's the theory anyway. And I think we're going to see some of that. There's a bit of star power in this.
So, going completely against our just currently set statement, there's 3 people whose names I do not know. I have no idea who they are, but I'm not going to say they're not big names because they might be. I'm just not aware of them.
I might be tripping, but I think Dominic Kush is a guy who has topped events before. I'm pretty sure I've seen that name.
But the other 2, Stephen Sherman and Alexander Kanzo, I have not seen them before. But so unsurprising, they were all 3 on Kashtera.
Yep. Pretty definitive statement when all 3 are on Kashtera and they got first place. So
first place. Yeah,
gives a lot of information about what kind of format we're looking at least in the immediate future.
Now it definitely is no tier 0 format. We've already established that
by the immediate next.
Yeah.
Best of 3. best team of 3.
Yeah.
But it's very it's definitely a statement that the 3 of them have top. The first place team was triple cash.
Cash.
Which I don't think any of them have given out deck lists or anything, so maybe they're trying to hide the sauce of whatever specific build they're playing. It looks like that it's not any sort of weird build, I don't think. I think there are 3 pure cash, but we won't know until they give out a bit more information.
Maybe they're trying to, like you said, withhold information just for the next event. Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much as far as the main deck, maybe 1 or 2 cards, but mostly I tend to find that the side deck is really where the players' like intellect comes into play, like full play. That's where the goo is, as Pac would say.
Let's go ahead and pull up, speaking of stuff like that, let's pull up the Cashier player whose deck list we have that got the highest, which is top 4. Elijah Green's Cashier list is the
Elijah Green
highest Cashier placing list that we have the full deck list of.
That's a name with tops.
Yeah, and that is a top tier. That is the name of a top tier player.
So already I'm noticing something completely different than what I usually saw. Like at least when I was playtesting Cashier. I did see this happen a lot more, like in recent tests of the game of the deck. But plain ogre and the over. Can you hover over the trap? Well, I forgot its name. Like I didn't play it enough. Preparation, yes. Plain preparation and ogre in the main deck is something that I saw people experimenting with, mainly to counteract like your opponent just going like, I'm gonna Book of Eclipse your board or something like that. It has very niche scenarios in which it's really good, especially when against trap cards, because usually trap cards are like removal and they're trying to like get rid of your trap. That's why this trap wasn't very well received in the first wave. It was like whatever. And that's why kind of ogre didn't have that much of an impact.
It's definitely interesting.
But I have seen it as like a control tool that people can use in order to like. I mean, obviously. Let me retract my step. Book of Eclipse in your board is still going to own you.
Yeah, it's still going to own you. But it gives you a little bit of recovery.
Yeah, this card, this trap right here, like a buck right here, just stated gives you some recovery. It allows you to special summon one of your Castras that's in your hand so that you still have everything online.
Well, it's also, or that is banished.
Or that is banished.
Which, given your macro effect and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be active if you get... under the theory that you get Book of Eclipsed.
I have some knowledge of how the normal combo works, but I don't think it'd be uncommon for a cash to get banished.
There will be a cash banished.
So this card just being able to different dimension ground, bring it right back, definitely not bad.
No.
And the whole banishing a thing from your opponent's hand face down if they activate a trap card is also very interesting.
Burning some of the resources.
A lot of people are on evenly and stuff. Even though it's not necessarily as good against cash specifically.
Well, evenly, it wouldn't work against evenly because you would have to get rid of your face-up Castra monsters as well as... I mean...
If your opponent activates a trap card and you control this face-up, you at least get to take another card out of their hand.
Well, you would need to control the face-up Castra monster after the trap resolves. So it's like all these Castra cards have like the stupidest wording where you have to wait until the trap, spell, or monster that they use resolve, and then you can activate their effects.
Well, the preparation is just if your opponent activates a trap card or effect, and there's no and in this one, but you control a Kashtira monster, and this card is already face up in your spell trap zone, you can look at your opponent's hand, and if you do banish one card. So if they go battle phase, you just immediately flip this up.
Yeah.
And then when they activate evenly, at least you get to take a card out of their hand. And it's not random.
No.
You can look at your opponent's hand.
Look at your opponent's
which is
hand knowledge.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You get to snipe their best card.
And then
which might
telegraph their next play.
You get to take their Fenrir or whatever, which could definitely be good. Yeah. But it seems like it's definitely a... What's the word for it?
It's a tech down. Well, I mean, it's a tech has like some sort of logic behind it.
I feel like it mitigates a lot of things. It doesn't. This card doesn't win you the game ever. It just makes all the normal bad situations a little less bad.
Yes.
If you're getting evenly, it makes that a little less bad. If you're getting eclipsed, it makes it a little less bad, so on and so forth.
I also saw that this player is not playing the Griffin Rider package, so definitely this is like their Griffin Rider package, the way they can mitigate some of the damage that they take from like board breakers, which are running rampant in this metagame right now. Yeah. This particular player did not use evenly match.
No, not in the main, but they did 3 in the side.
Not in the main. Yeah, in the side it's there. I don't see thrust. Do you see thrust?
Nope. There's no thrust on this, which is also very interesting.
Very interesting. They're playing Lancia.
They are playing set rotation, though.
Okay, I understand the Lancia because if you Lancia the Castria player, then they're kind of boned.
Yeah.
So.
It is the side deck especially. Well, first of all, let's talk about some of the side deck cards that are in the main deck.
Yeah.
They're main decking Ash Blossom. Not surprising at all, especially with Branded being as good as it is. We'll talk about some Branded later.
Lava Golem.
They're main decking Lava Golem.
Well, I mean, that's a trend that I saw happening since like early stage of development of the deck. Because you don't normal summon in this deck. You don't.
You don't need the normal
You do not.
And they're also playing 3 Book of Eclipse in the main.
And now that Flunderies doesn't have the barrier statue, we don't have to worry about normal.
Yeah, and we've also got the 3 impermanents in the main deck. I wonder if that's standard.
That's standard because you can imperm the unicorn. Like again, the Castria Mirror. This is a lot of like theory crafting based on the Castria Mirror. And also you can imperm somebody's maybe Lubellion if they didn't send a comedy to the graveyard or something like that. Yeah. Which most people don't nowadays because they don't think they're going to get impermed, and they do.
Looks like the imperm is pretty standard, just looking at a couple other lists. Okay.
Yeah, the Ash Blossom as well, it's there mostly just to Ash the Branded Fusion, I'm guessing.
Well, that's a very impactful play. Yeah. Branded Fusion, definitely a very powerful card that has a very critical weakness to Ash Blossom specifically.
Yeah.
Also, some other, just to emphasize, this deck is wildly expensive. Mm-hmm. And to top it all off, you're playing 3 Prosperity.
Wait, is that Reichphobia?
Oh, which one?
I just saw it, like, on the bottom left corner. I think I see Reichphobia.
Yeah.
Why?
That's Reichphobia.
That's the Scareclaw.
You can add a Scareclaw monster. Well, they're playing the Scareclaw Kashtira.
Yeah, they're playing Scareclaw Kashtira, so that's probably to search that. My question is, why search this?
Well, it's the set rotation.
Yeah, it's obviously the set rotation, but...
Their set rotation.
I guess they're trying to like. That's one of their targets. Like, let's say, so that they can play set rotation in more easily. Yeah, I guess it's just consistency. Right
well, they just have to have a second field spell.
Yeah, it's just consistency.
They aren't playing the other option is to play the Tears. But it looks like they opted to play the Scareclaws instead.
Well, I mean, Scareclaw is much better than Tear and pure Castra because Tear, like, it's a name. But it doesn't really accomplish anything. If anything, it runs you dry of resources, which is kind of bad. Mm-hmm. You don't want to dump cards into the graveyard. So, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, they're just playing...
The Scareclaw's better.
They're just really trying to find Pressure Planet. Mm-hmm. They're playing the Terraforming, even the set rotation, and then the...
Before we move on, can I just say this one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Why did they name it Pressure Planet?
It's weird.
Why? Come on, dude. The name was so much cooler before. But,
what was the original translation? That fan translation?
It's called Prime Planet Paraíso. Like it was like paradise.
But instead, it's Raitsoth. Whatever on her. Prime Planet Parisios. There you go. They got the fan translation there.
Yeah.
Pressure Planet Raitsoth.
That's a huge difference in naming. But anyway, let's move on from that.
Yeah. Anyway, but the imperm also is another thing where the preparations, if they don't activate it right away, the preparations get to snipe a card out of the opponent's hand, maybe. Just some more possible little interactions that they're prepared for. The side deck, it's not inspiring, but it's pretty straightforward. We got we just got Shifter,
we mentioned the Evenly,
Lancia,
and the Lancia. Now, like you said, you have the Dimension Shifter. You also have Dimensional Barrier in order to stop the other rampant deck in the meta, which is Branded.
It stops everything.
It stops everything. It stops Castra.
Yeah, Casturia, Colexes. I don't think it's as effective against Casturia because they still have all the big guys who are still not bad on their own.
So I just noticed it. Okay, I know we're talking about the side deck right now, but
You
there's
noticed
not much.
something weird?
There's not much else to talk about in the side deck.
It's pretty
All that
standard.
stuff is the only other things that stand out is the trap trick.
Yeah.
The trap trick probably being there for the D barriers.
Yes, they just really want to find D barriers.
Yeah. You also have a pointer,
It
which
is kinda
sadly you can't trap trick for a pointer anymore.
It is kind of crazy that just playing the one pointer. I guess they're just that desperate to get rid of your opponent's
Cards. Like get some hand knowledge on top of that.
It's but it's also they're just desperate to probably get rid of Buko Eclipse and stuff because so many people are on those board breakers.
Well,
so even if it's a one of, it's just like.
I mean, people would chain the book of Eclipse at that point.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think that's more like to get rid of their. So people are going to be obviously boarding into a bunch
Well, it gets rid of the lava golem and stuff.
They're going to be boarding into a ton of back removal. I mean, just removal overall, and they might overhaul in it just to be able to see it. And so that probably the pointer is there not to get rid of the removal, or the ways they're going to remove your board, unless there's just one and it's specifically lava golem.
Uh-huh.
But more so to get rid of the playmaker that they have in their hand.
Yeah, that's a big part of the reason why the pointer got limited.
Yeah.
Is because it gets rid of whatever blowout card your opponent has against you, and if they don't have one, you just take the best starter card out of their hand.
Yeah.
Which is probably, like you said, what this is mostly being used for.
Yeah.
Especially because Kashtira, they do kind of have a pretty strong starter cards that kind of get everything going. And they just need to see one of them to really get stuff going. And if you can get rid of that out of their hand, suddenly their hand isn't so good.
Yep.
But, they're also, Kashtira, just looking at the deck list, looking at them, like, all of these cards are insane.
All of the cards.
Like,
dude, all of the Casher cards read like they say win the game in some sense.
Yeah, it really does look like that. I'm looking at them like, like half the cards on this deck just do full combo by themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, not really. I feel like the only true full combo would be Unicorn if you open with Unicorn. But there's many ways to get to Unicorn.
Fenrir does the same thing.
No, Fenrir doesn't do the same thing. Fenrir, you would miss out on one banished name, which does come up if you want to lock out more stones from your opponent. But anyway, continuing the talk of the side deck because we got sidetracked right there a little bit. The only other card besides the 3 Lancia, 3 Dimension Shifter, 3 D Prison, 3 Evenly Match, and the one-offs being Trap Trick and a Pointer. The only other card, the 15th, is the Harpy's Feather Duster.
Yep.
And I feel like that's just you have to have some other back removal besides Evenly. So
I mean, it's probably for
pretty
Rogue
standard.
and also probably for Labyrinth.
And it's good.
We don't know exactly how much they were expecting Labyrinth, but the Evenlies and the Duster definitely feel like they're good Labyrinth cards.
Good.
That's a big thing as we keep moving through the top cut. We'll quickly see that Labyrinth is the thing you're probably going to have to start planning for.
Mm-hmm.
So after the triple cash, the second...
Before we move on from that list, I just wanted to mention one last thing. On the extra deck, double Zeus, interesting, but I can see why it's there. It's because this is a philosophy that's going on right now where if your opponent, Diabolus is you don't want them to take your best card or rip both of them apart immediately, so you play 2. And if they do take, let's say both of your Zeuses with Unicorn and Diabolos, then you still have your Arise Heart, and if they take both of your Arise Heart, you still have Zeus. You still have something somewhere or another.
The extra deck definitely feel the fact they've got 2 Arise Heart, they've got 2 of the other Kashtira extra deck monster, and then they've got 2 Zeus, and so it feels like they're just saying you only get to pick one of these things to get rid of.
And obviously, you still have the toolbox ones, which is just
I kind of wonder
the Dark Arm Dragon. You have
what's the Baguska plan here?
You make a rank 4 basically in those scenarios that you just get absolutely hand trapped to death, and you open the second Arise Heart. You go special one, normal the other one, overlay.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like Baguska. Baguska obviously being the plan against Flu.
And then they're also playing a Fur Hire in there standard?
I don't know about that. That's not standard at all. At least not in the lists I used to play. What isn't standard at all, though, I can see at least an argument for the Fur Hire being there, is no Goliath. There's no Goliath, no Infinite Track Goliath in here. And instead, there's 2 Lingerebos, which I don't know why there's 2 Lingerebos in there. I would.
Oh, you're making it with the Ibli.
Yeah,
so your
I guess
opponent
you
gives
make
you an
it with
Ibli, you make it. It's still not amazing because you still are left with the guy, but at least you aren't locked, you know?
Yeah, you're like, it doesn't really matter. As long as you get rid of the lock, everything's fine and dandy.
I mean, you don't get to special the guys for free.
that's my real question.
I mean, people genuinely, this guy Cleary was very scared of the Ibley lock. I think a lot of people were. That Ibley was going to be a really big part of this format, which it doesn't appear like it was.
No, it was not.
But this guy seemed like he was prepared for it. I'm kind of curious what the Intis is here for.
I think you banish it off of one of the effects of...
you banish it with extravagance.
With extravagance. Like one of your banishing effects is going to do it, like extravagance, or maybe even like you... I don't know. Actually, it's just extravagance.
What I'm saying is, I was saying, I meant to say prosperity because you don't need it. But I don't really know what the point is in engine. Like, how are they planning on?
So you banish it with prosperity. Yeah, there. That's it. That's the only way to banish those cards. Well, same with the
I just don't know how you're getting Intist into the graveyard.
You're not. What you're going to do is you're gonna attach it to one of your Castras, and if they Dark Ruler no more you, or do some sort of board wipe.
So yes, you put it face down with prosperity, and then you attach it to a dude, and then when that guy goes to the graveyard,
So that's basically the plan right there. Well, in the Brandon floor, that's weird. Where's I guess special summon one Castra, normal summon a Ash Blossom, Synchro for 10. I guess that's a way.
I think the Baron's just, if you happen to normal summon the Ash Blossom, I mean, that's pretty good.
Sometimes you, contrary to popular belief, you brick a lot in this deck, so I understand that. You brick a lot on this deck.
Well, since you don't have a normal summon, I feel like there's no reason not to normal Ash and just making a Baron. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So the next thing is World Champions and John. 2 World Champions of John, which is Ryan Yu, Charlie Ray, and John Wilkin. So Ryan Yu is
second place.
Everyone knows Ryan Yu. Mm-hmm. I do want to just point out, because it's Ryan Yu topped with Sky Striker in a format where that deck was poo-poo caca. Mm-hmm. So he can make anything top as long as it's a control deck. So I wouldn't put too much weight to the fact that he managed to pilot Labyrinth to second place.
I know we were talking about goofy decks earlier. This is one of them. And honestly, we're not going to put too much pressure on this being a carry, because this is probably Ryan Yu being Ryan Yu.
Yeah, Ryan Yu is just going to be... That's just who he is. He's going to top with whatever he feels like. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like, especially as we get further down, there are quite a few Labyrinths. I feel like it might be a little overrepresented for this event, just because of it being a 3v3 and it being especially, it's one of the decks that you can give someone with only a little while left until the tournament starts and be like, hey, you mind being our third man? Here's Labyrinth. It's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. That being said, Labyrinth, you can get really big brain with it.
You definitely can.
It's one of those decks with a really low skill floor, but a very high skill ceiling. So it's easy for you to give it to your third man. It's just something to play, but it's also something that Ryan Yu can pilot to insane degrees.
I would argue it's kind of like what Flu has evolved to be right now. It's it has a really, really low floor, but the ceiling is insane. Mm-hmm. I saw people literally just trying to loop the effect of Unexplored Winds as many times as possible. And that's really just the way it's being played right now. Just a control deck in which you spin back your opponent's cards, summon a Pixabian, or spin more cards with what's it called? Ryza. Yeah. And it's evolving into such an interesting deck, such an interesting control deck, that it actually has some sort of I have respect for it now, I would say.
Well, it's easy to respect it when it didn't top at all. There's no, unfortunately,
it didn't top at all. Sadly.
There's no Flunder in here at all. But
makes sense when the Castra is the better control deck.
So Ryan Yu is Ryan Yu, but let's talk about his teammates who are both on Branded. Branded, definitely a premier deck. A lot of people expected this deck to be very good. Mm-hmm. We also got a lot of weird...
Probably the best deck, honestly.
Yeah, probably. We'll see how things shake up. But if it's not the best, I think it's definitely going to be Tier 1.
Tier 1.
This is...
Already interesting.
Already a teched out list. I heard some people talking about this list.
Yeah.
This is Charlie Ray.
Charlie Ray's list. He's on fusion deployment.
Fusion deployment to summon some very unusual cards.
Yep.
So I've been told that the theory behind this. So first of all, looking at the deck list, mostly pretty standard branded stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're playing Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous, which is not uncommon for
not at
branded.
all. This is an standard extender for branded.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything unusual. They're not playing that many Bestials, to be honest. They're not playing any.
They're very low on
Hut.
Bestials. That's the thing that made this one deck list very dissimilar to the rest. Is that the low amount of Bestials and the higher amount of tech cards.
Yeah, they cut basically all the Bestials except literally just
playing
one
Expulsion on top of
Mabellion
that.
and one Sarnier. They're still playing Expulsion, but it's good with Albion and also if you happen to set it up, stuff like that.
Summon Albus as well. If you like in the niche scenario where you're like, it's probably just better if I make something out of my opponent's.
The Gold Sark is interesting.
Gold Sark is very interesting.
What
I'm thinking it's there so that you can banish the Tragedy, and the Tragedy gets you one of your dudes.
Yeah.
Or you can banish the Mercurior. Mercurior or Tragedy.
That is pretty good. I mean, that gets you... If you banish Mercurior, then bam, you immediately get the Albion. And then the Albion will get you to be able to dump anything and upstart Goblin. So that's pretty good. Also, but Tragedy also, if you're just missing one of the pieces of the Despia engine.
If you just wanted to get to Aliber super fast.
Yeah,
definitely good. That was a card being played before in like really early builds of Branded. I tested out with Julian, like our friend Julian, when he was still playing the game. We were testing out different ways to make this deck really powerful. Back then, funny enough, people were playing Dragoon, and now they're playing Dragoon. It feels like that list that, like, from like a year ago exactly, like the lists from like a year ago are what people are playing now. Dragoon with Gold Sark and all these decked out cards. It's funny to see this happening.
So they've definitely cut down on Bestials and those sorts, and have replaced it with tech cards, including things like Gold Sark, which I think is technically a tech card, even though it's only being used here for engine. But then we've got some side deck cards in the main. They're main decking specifically the Nibiru's and the Book of Eclipse, which definitely got them some wins. Yeah, at this point, I think it's going to be standard moving forward.
Yeah, these, like what's called 9 cards, are going to probably be something that you're going to see in every deck or side deck. Ash, Nib, Eclipse,
everything.
But
there's obviously the elephant in the room with this deck list is that there is a vanilla monster, Dark Magician in the main deck.
I wonder what that's for. So, it's not like I just mentioned it. Dragoon.
So supposedly, how this works is you fully expect they're playing 2 of all the important cards, including Dragoon.
Yeah.
And they're fully expecting, okay, yeah, you can get rid of my Mirror Jade if you want, but I'm just going to make Dragoon. You have to pick either you can get rid of Mirror Jade, but I'm just going to make a Dragoon, and then you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Which I don't think Kasira has a clean out for Dragoon.
It kind of doesn't, because the removal in Arise Heart is targeting. The only way for them to actually kill Dragoon would be... I'm trying to think, actually, now that I think about it.
I mean, if you don't get a negate, you can crash, right?
No, you cannot. Oh, wait, yeah, you can't crash. You can't crash. Yeah, so as long as you don't proc their negate, you can actually just crash, like you said.
But that's not
sometimes that's good enough.
But you have to give up... all of the effects target, don't they? Yeah. That's really the best, is to find a way to make a Rise Heart without getting...
or you could choose them.
You could choose them. But then you still have to make a... If they end on just the Dragoon, it's like, what are you going to attack with? Yeah. So you're going to end up crashing anyway.
The Dark-Armed Dragon is one of the tech cards that can actually crash without dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw that in the cash list. They were playing the Dark-Armed Dragon.
Let me see. Let's look at its effects. Oh, never mind. It just destroys. Nope,
that card, and it's too small.
Too small,
Yep, so I think the best thing to do is you just gotta crash the Arise Harden, which is not going to work if they negate something. Obviously, if they have other cards face up, you can make any of these Extreme monsters.
I mean, people are also like playing Book of Eclipse now. I think about it. It's
and Eclipse does,
and Lava Golem.
and Lava Golem is definitely a clean out. Yeah. But you got to draw it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's better than nothing. It's definitely better than
Johnny
just,
out, bruh.
It's definitely better than just losing if they banish both of the Mirror Jades. Yeah. But the fact that they're playing a vanilla, and they are playing the fusion deployment, so they can summon it from the deck. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only target. Well, no, they can also summon
Albas,
Albas.
Fallen of Gobblenoknuckles.
So that's an option. But the real spice for this deck list,
it's in the side.
Is in the side.
Okay, first of all, super unorthodox. Because, holy crap, no thrust again.
This is wild looking.
But he's playing. Let's start with their more tame ones. Triple enemy controller.
Which is wild.
That's
wild. A tame one.
that's a very tame one. You 1D barrier. Why 1D barrier?
Just one.
I guess you just really want to see the other tech card, which is the Super Poly.
Well, I think they're playing the one because they're playing Crossout. They're playing 3 Crossout Designator.
In order to stop people from deburying
them. Yeah, and also probably to stop any of the other stuff like Ash Blossom.
I can't even see what they would side out. They would side out the Gold Sark and the what's it called fusion deployments and put that in.
Yeah. They can also get rid of this guy if they're going first. If you're going first, you do not need Dark Magician anymore.
You would think you don't, but honestly, like we were saying, there's going to be lines in which they're going to get rid of your Mirror Jade, and if they do, you need to go to your.
You're going first.
If they're going first,
you gotta leave the DM.
That would be going second because you're getting debarriered. Remember, so your opponent went first.
But if you were going first, then you're probably also keeping these crossouts because you get the Ash Blossom and you get to stop board breakers.
Yeah. Definitely, you would bring them in. So I guess over Book of Eclipse, you would put in crossouts.
So the crossout is interesting because it does work first and second,
but in this format
specifically, because you can stop any of your opponent's side deck cards.
Yeah, like, what's called hand traps, like popular hand traps being Ash Blossom and Nibiru, and also Book of Eclipse being a very popular going second out. So I guess you could keep one over one of the fusion deployments.
So I think it's just genuinely kind of smart, and it's I like completely agree that it's not quite good enough to main deck, but once they're putting in those side deck cards that auto win in the game, suddenly the crossout is just good enough to play games 2 and 3.
Yep.
Which I feel like is really interesting. Anyway, sorry.
Another cool tech being the Super Polys. And this is still tame. Only 2 Super Poly. Instead of 1. Instead of all 3. You got the Super Polymerization targets, which right now they're pretty much almost the entire extra deck due to the fact that if you're using Super Poly, you're using it.
Light or dark.
With
your Albaz or whatever. So, yeah, it's just if you can stick a guy and then Super Poly, you can get rid of whatever is an issue on your opponent's side of the field.
Yeah.
So, and then Contact C. I saw a couple of these.
Now we're moving on to the more
That's a little more unusual.
Yeah. When your opponent normal special summons a monster, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field, and they must use it for the material for whatever.
I wonder...
And this is mainly used. Yeah. That's the reason why we see that now that I remember.
So
the reason why we see the For Hire link is because of this right here.
So Contact C, honestly, it's pretty good because people aren't playing as many generic link monsters anymore.
No, especially not in Keshra.
Yeah, Keshra, the only reason they play it is specifically to out Contact C. But like if we're looking at their extra deck right now, the branded Despot player, they don't have an out for this. I'm looking at their extra deck. I'm like, I don't know what they do.
Like, I guess they use it as fusion.
How would you
fusion material?
You're gonna make the
brand?
No,
Brigand.
8. That's 8 or higher.
Level 8 or higher. Guardian Chimera.
Yeah, you'd have to use it for Guardian Chimera.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be weird.
It's gonna be super weird, but you're gonna have to do it.
So that seems like a good card. It's not like a blowout. Maybe a little bit against Kashtira if they're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a blowout in Swiss where people aren't ready for it.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to be ready for it, and they're going to go like, wait, what? What does this card do?
But when you get to Top Cut, people are playing random things like Donner, Dagger for Hire. I wonder if
It's just a good generic pop. So.
Yeah, but it's two monsters with different types, which you can totally use to make that guy.
Definitely. And it works with the deck itself as well.
Mm-hmm.
More weird text.
There's more weird text. I don't even know what's going on.
Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. So this one I actually don't even know what it was for. You can special summon this card from your hand by tributing a one face-up XYZ you control. You can only special summon... Okay, so this makes sense now why the enemy controllers exist. You take your opponent's XYZ, and then you go Puppet Nightmare.
Why? It's so weird.
It away. You tribute away the Arise Heart, and then you can...
I think they have a way to search it. And all of its other effects have to do with having more copies of it, but they're just playing the one in the side deck. So it's literally just to take control of the opponent's Xyz monsters and tribute over it.
Yeah.
Which just seems so weird.
It seems so weird, but wait, is it unearthed?
No, it's a dark.
It's a dark? Okay,
I have no idea.
I was about to say, like, yo, if it's an earth insect, they can search it out of context.
No. It's a dark machine. I genuinely, I can see what they are using it for.
Yeah.
But it does not seem consistent. This one, honestly, is kind of whack.
I guess, well, no, it's just only from the hand. Yeah, it's weird. I wonder how they get it to their hand. Let me see the main deck.
I'm not sure. They're not playing any... Like, they can't grab it off of Fusion or anything. Like, I genuinely have no idea how they're trying to get this card to their hand.
Yeah, I do not
Other
know
than just hard drawing it. Maybe they're just that good at the game.
Maybe Expulsion? I don't know.
The Expulsion? Yeah.
I don't really know. But anyway, let's move on to the tech cards that we really know.
Yeah, the ones that everyone actually cares about.
Okay, Aqua Dolphin is Elemental Hero Aqua Neos.
Yeah, that's... So, the idea behind this is you side both of them in, and then the fusion deployment that he's playing already
special summons the Aqua Dolphin.
Summon the Aqua Dolphin to get rid of the Ash Blossom out of the opponent's hand. Yeah. Which that's a long way to go to get rid of the Ash, but that just shows you how important it is to resolve Brain Diffusion. Yeah. And that's just pretty wild. That they're playing these two cards in the side deck just to
out an Ash.
Just to out Ash. And, well, obviously, it gives you hand knowledge as well, which is going to be good. It helps you better planning of disruptions. I think at this point we all know just how good hand knowledge is.
Yeah.
Especially in a deck like this where you have interactions that you can time. It is a little weird because, well, it's only 4 cards in your deck, the 3 fusion deployments and the Aqua Dolphin. It's like, are you going to draw that? But then again, they're also probably playing the 3 crossout. Mm-hmm. So that means when they're going first, they're going to have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7 answers to
7.
Ash.
Yeah, 7 answers to Ash.
Which isn't that bad.
In a 40 card deck.
Well, and they're also playing the Call by the Grave in the main deck. So that's 7, 8. So that's almost
a really of their deck. Good chance of like seeing it.
It's a really good chance of drawing something that gets rid of the Ash Blossom. So games 2 and 3, they're definitely expecting people. But then again, I'm not sure how much...
Funny enough, I think you have less chances of getting to full combo than actually stopping.
Well, it's definitely a very interesting teched out list for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very interested to see how this list will continue to evolve. Uh-huh.
I do see a lot of the traditional things like missing here, like no big bestial package where you have branded regain and all that. I feel like that's more of a Dragon Link thing. Which, funny enough, we didn't see any Dragon Link in top.
No Dragon Link either.
No Dragon Link. Another big contender, practically non-existent in this tournament.
Yeah, which is very curious. A lot of different things. Let's go ahead and check the...
We should probably check the
other branded list to see if his is also weird and teched out.
Well, since we're running out of time, let's go and check the Labyrinth.
Okay. Let's specifically look at...
And also, it looked the same. The other brand.
I'm trying to see if did I actually click on the same guy twice?
Let me see.
No, they're different because this one's the one that features. So it looks like literally identical.
Yeah, it's identical.
They played the exact same.
Exact same list. Yeah.
Which is helpful for 3v3 where you're trying to give your teammate advice. But yeah, they're just playing the exact same list.
Yeah.
Which is, again, no shame on that. It's gonna matter a lot.
Hey, it's teched out enough that it could fit for 2 people.
Yeah, it's definitely enough text for 2 different decks.
Two
For
different
sure.
decks, yeah.
And then we've got Labyrinth.
Shouldn't have split those? I'm just kidding. Anyway.
This is actually a very interesting Labyrinth.
I'm going to just say this right now. I haven't read a single Labyrinth card except maybe White Castle. That was her name, or like whatever the heck.
So there's a couple little things that make this interesting.
Silver Castle, yeah.
So they're playing the 1 Silver Castle. I'm pretty sure that's standard.
White.
They're playing the 3.
The MVT.
They're playing the 3 Lady Labyrinth, and
which is
1
better.
Lovely. Yes. Yeah. They're only playing 2 of the Servant, the Ariana.
And they're not playing any of the other one.
Usually a 3 of.
Yeah.
It's a little interesting. They're only playing 1 Lord of the Heavenly Prison, which is usually a 3 of.
Actually, I understand why Lord of the Heavenly Prison is 1, because even at 2, it's so awkward when you draw it. I think you only need the 1, and that's it. Like, you only ever really want to see the 1, and you don't want to see any more copies of that card, because then it's dead in your hand. Like, there's another Labyrinth, topping list. It's still within, like, the top 8, right? And you can see 3 Lord of the Heavenly Prison right there.
The other one got top 8.
Yeah.
And they're playing 3 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. They're only playing 1 Ariana, so maybe I was wrong. Maybe 2 is more close to normal. Anyway, but Ryan,
or maybe these guys are unorthodox as heck.
Who knows? Well, Labyrinth, I don't think is very refined. This is the first
real tournament.
The first tournament that it's ever really come out in force.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the other card is like they got 3 Welcome Labyrinth. They got 3 Big Welcome Labyrinth. What good names? And we're playing a couple of weird floodgates.
This deck was never known for its naming sense.
Yeah. But the whole point of this deck is that you get to loop normal trap cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're searchable and loopable. And Ryan Yu has made the interesting decision to play 1 Gozen and 1 Rivalry.
And 3 Skill Drain.
Which, none of those cards are searchable. The Skill Drain makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because you just got big guys. So you don't
big
care.
Bunkus.
You don't care if they... if you just draw evenly... I mean, if you just draw Skill Drain, you're like, cool, I just have bigger guys. Yeah, good luck playing your Kashtira deck when all of your guys don't have
Kashtira can remove the Skill Drain very easily.
It still just makes it so they have to do that and do it instead of doing something else.
That's true. It forces them to focus on a stupid-ass Skill Drain instead of anything else. Well, the guy playing Prepare probably was laughing at Ryan Yu whenever he flipped his Skill Drain. And then he had it prepare up. And then it was like, now I get to see your hand. But anyway, at the end of the day, this deck's probably going to outwit the Kashtira deck and whittle down its resources little by little because it continues to gain resources. Meanwhile, Kashtira continues to waste them.
Yeah, I think these floodgates are really oddly not trying to win the game. They're just basically trying to force a 1-for-1.
1-for-1.
Situation.
In a situation where it's not going to be a 1-for-1 for them, it's going to be a 1 for you pay 2 and I pay 1.
Yeah, just cards that they know your opponent's going to be able to out. It's just that they're going to have to waste resources
or +1 probably.
+1. But then we got all the normal. They're playing 3 D-Barrier in the main.
Makes sense because this is that format.
They're playing Underroot, which Underroot is just a wild card in this deck specifically. Which is really cool.
I never understood the tech with Underroot, why it was being used in the side deck instead of being a main deck card in trap card decks. Mm-hmm. I understand it being a trap main deck card in the trap card decks, but before it was being used as a tech to out Mystic Man. I don't know.
But
or
Underroot
things.
It's just a card that just does whatever you want it to do.
Yeah.
It can out anything. Really?
Also, it can get you a body or make a body appear in the opponent's side of the field if you really need it. It definitely
does a lot.
It does a lot for the deck. 1 trap trick, but I think that's okay in this.
Well,
deck.
You can reset it. So
that's what I'm saying.
It allows you to tutor. It turns the being able to recur any trap card to being able to search any trap card from your deck every turn.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And I guess you don't really need more than 1 of it. The other guys I'm playing it. Oh, the other guy's playing 3 of it. So I guess Ryan Yu is being a little more conservative, and he's like, I don't want to draw.
You don't want to banish all your cards, all your trap cards with trap tricks. So I understand just having 1. It's just the tech. Yeah. I feel like this is just the last 40th card that had to be in there, and it's just a consistency boost to your deck. I can definitely see Ryan use logic here. Like, he's just trying to not run dry of traps.
Yeah.
And makes sense.
Specifically, the normal traps that he has selected as to go as the engine is, like we already said, D-Barrier and Trap Trick and Underroot. But the Compulse, that's pretty standard for specifically Labyrinth. That's like the go-to trap card for them.
Compulse also works against... it works so good against the Shangri-La. It's like, get the hell out of here, man. Like, bye. You got the Dogmatica Punishment.
That's the unusual trap card for Labyrinth list. And that means their extra deck is just punishment stuff.
Punishment stuff, yeah. Look at that. Garuda to draw. Yeah. You also got Omega to put back some of your cards.
All the standard stuff. Well, really a lot more than just the standard stuff.
I would think he might be playing Camberraster, like what's it called? The Paleozoic Link, the one that allows you to basically blank protection your trap cards.
No, yeah, you'd think he would be playing it. But I'm not saying it. I guess he doesn't think he's going to find a small enough monster, but then he gets played in Garura.
Well, Camberraster isn't exactly small, and I think it was 1,000 or something like that.
So I wonder what kind of... one of the thing about punishment is that you do have to worry about like it does actually have a you can't just send any extra deck guy.
Yeah,
it does. The stat of the monster actually matters.
The monster matters. Yeah, you're right.
And I think the paleo is like
1,200. Yeah, it was 1,200. You're right. It was just too small. And then the metagame does not call for it whenever all your dudes are huge.
Yeah, even everybody's normal summons. Like if I pull up the Kashtira list, like the smallest guy they're going to be summoning is 15, which you can Garura, but you can't Paleo. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
So that explains
that. Hey,
that.
what if they normal summon the Ash Blossom?
if they normal summon the Ash Blossom, you're just built different, you know?
Built different.
You're just better. And they're also, again, they're playing the 2 Lingeribo.
Yeah. So again, very, very prepared for the stupid Ibli crap. That's really funny. Everybody thought it was going to be running Rampart. Everyone's going to be playing Ibli and everything. I think I don't see a single one of those lists in the top cut.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Seems like everyone's being a bit more conservative.
Now, let's look at the side real quick before we end this episode.
I am really... So they played more of the Floodgates.
More Floodgates. Let's go!
But specifically one Imperial Iron Ball. Maybe I don't know enough about Labyrinth. I don't think they can search that at all.
No, they can't search...
I don't know why he's playing these random 1-0 Floodgates.
Yeah, you're right. I did not know anything about Labyrinth. But I... have heard they only work with normal traps.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And so, how the heck is he getting that to his hand? He doesn't even have thrust. Yeah. None of these guys have thrust.
As we get lower, there are more people with thrust. But you're right. The very top end, none of them are.
None of them are. I guess they just didn't want to rely on something like, oh, if my opponent bones me, then I can maybe get this. It's not. No, let's fill our deck with cards that actually do something.
And of course, we're also missing a lot of the top cut. People who don't have their deck list, like the Triple Cash, who got first place.
Maybe they have thrust.
They might be on thrust. Who knows?
Hey, what if they're on thrust and that's why they won?
Who knows? But
by the way, we're talking about Triple Tactics thrust.
Yes. I genuinely kind of confused. So I get like skill drain, but I really don't understand the Does Rivalry do anything against Cash?
Rivalry. If I remember correctly, the effect of Rivalry is that you only get to control one type. No, it doesn't.
And they're all psychics.
I guess maybe against the Rise Heart. But no, the extra deck is in Psychic, right? The extra deck for Rise Heart.
The Rise Heart machine.
So okay, there we go.
Heart. But you can still make the Diablo and stuff. So.
Diabolos, yeah.
It's not the end of the world. This guy's a psychic.
I guess you can still make your standard combo. You just don't end in Macrocosmos. But
that means they're going to be able to get to an out to it really easily.
Yeah, eventually.
So I don't know how good that is. But it's and then the Gozen also.
Gozen makes sense. Gozen makes sense because all of them are different attributes.
Yeah, all Castros are different. So we've got Earth, Wind, Fire. Yeah, they're all over the place. But then Rivalry is the one that he's playing more of, side and main combined. So I really don't know. It might be for branded, but then again, they're all like dragons. So anyway, all that being said, I appreciate you for being on, as always.
Yeah.
It looks like we're running out of time here. I highly encourage everyone to take a good look just very quickly before we leave, I want to mention some of the goofy stuff that topped.
Yeah.
If I could pull it up.
I also mentioned that there was an eradicator epidemic virus in the side for it.
Yeah, I think that's
Brian used list.
pretty normal for them.
It's pretty normal, and it's a blowout right now when it comes to like getting rid of all this stupid like sperm trap removal and whatnot. Especially in Labyrinth, it's great.
To quickly cover, like the cheapest deck in Top Cut. By the way, apparently it's the branded list. Anyway, like actually, it's the it's the branded list.
It's the Sword Soul.
But the Sword Soul is
it's
so
228.
in top 4. The funny deck list before we go. There is a Sword Soul that made top 4 that may or may not have been carried by the Branded and Kashtira player that they were partners with. Looking at it, it looks like a very basic Sword Soul. There's a couple little things that are weird, but no like funny text or anything.
No, it's just cookie cutter Sword Soul, basically.
And then if we go down to top 16, we got Du Bois, which is 3 Sprite Kashtira decks.
D-Boys, let's go, Kashtira.
And then a lot of more Kashtira. And then we've got the pack team honorary members, where we've got the Runic Naturias, 2 of them. And then a Kashtira player is on Brave in their list. So the
Shuping
team pack definitely had an interesting approach.
Dude, Shuping's list on Kashtira is what I used to play, or was planning on playing with the Griffin Rider package and everything. Obviously, his is a lot more teched out for the format, but that's kind of what I wanted to go for. Looking at the price, thank God I didn't.
Yeah, the yield $1,400.
So around the
that's
ballpark
wild.
of 1,400, 1,300. Yeah.
And finally, the true cheapest deck in Top Cut and the goofiest is Marincess,
Marinsos.
which did indeed top. We don't know who the third member was, but it was Branded, Marincess, and someone else. And the Marincess, it's just Marincess.
With traps. I mean, hand traps. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just Marincess with a bunch of hand traps. There's nothing special.
Truly just this Marincess. And like even the side deck looks like hasn't changed since like they first came out.
Normal.
Since they first stopped.
They aren't even playing, like, they're playing Nibiru and Contact C in the main deck, which is a little interesting, but it's nothing too crazy. I mean, main deck in the Contact C is a little interesting, to be fair. Anyway, that's the goofiest list for sure. Finished the top.
Top 16.
Some suspicion about whether or not that was
carried
or not. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for being on.
Funny if the Marincess actually carried the team.
Like if we get the win rates out and he was like undefeated all the way.
All the way. It's like, no, my team just sucks so much that
we only got top 16. I was carrying with the Marincess.
Yeah.
That'd be a funny story if that was true.
That was so funny. But
anyway, thank you for joining me.
Yep.
As always, thank you for talking with me through all these interesting Top Cut lists.
And this is Ned signing off, and we forgot the number of the episode, so that's what you didn't hear.
22, I think, right?
It was 22? Might have been 23, because I think 20... Wait, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.